from the moment Emily Carter stepped into her quiet Oregon kitchen that cold November morning. She felt a truth pressing against her chest so strongly it almost stole her breath. Her husband, Daniel, stood beside the window with their newborn daughter in his arms, humming softly as the early light touched his face. Anyone looking in would have seen the image of a perfect family, warm, tender, complete. But behind Emily's eyes lived a storm that no one else could see, because the man who loved that baby more than anything was not her biological father. And the secret had grown heavier with every sunrise. She watched Daniel gently rock little Lily, whispering small things only a parent would sigh soft compliments. Promises for her future, dreams he already carried for her. Emily felt her heart split open. She wished she could freeze this moment, hold on to his happiness longer, breathe in his kindness and pretend that the truth didn't exist. But the truth had a way of finding cracks. "Look at her," Daniel said, smiling. "She's got your eyes." Emily nodded, swallowing the ache inside her. She didn't trust herself to speak. She feared her voice would tremble and reveal everything she'd fought so hard to hide. He adored this child. He adored her. They had been trying for years, doctor visits, tests, hopeful mornings that turned into quiet nights filled with disappointment. Through every setback, Daniel had held her hand, kissed her forehead, and whispered that no matter what happened, they would face it together. But Emily remembered the heaviness in the air. The day another doctor told them the chances were growing smaller. Daniel put on a brave face, but she saw the heartbreak he tried to hide. She carried that image with her everywhere, the look in his eyes, the way his shoulders sank when he thought she wasn't watching. Maybe that was why she let her guard down. Maybe that was why everything changed on that one night 2 years before Lily's birth. Emily had attended a charity event in Portland, something small and simple. She wasn't planning on going, but a friend had insisted. She didn't expect to see Michael, her old college friend, the person she used to rely on when she was younger and overwhelmed. His calm presence had always made her feel understood in a way she could never fully explain. She also didn't expect to feel old emotions resurface. At first, it was harmless conversation, catching up, laughing about stories from their past. But the emotional weight she'd been carrying at home with Daniel made her vulnerable. And in a moment of weakness she should have avoided, she made a mistake. A heartbreaking, irreversible mistake. The regret consumed her immediately. There were no excuses she could give herself. She went home to Daniel the next day and decided that part of her life was done forever. She blocked Michael's number and buried the memory deeply, doing everything she could to rebuild her life. Weeks later, she learned she was pregnant. The mixture of joy, fear, and panic hit her all at once. Daniel was overwhelmed with happiness. He picked her up, spun her around, laughed with tears in his eyes. Emily clung to that moment, praying with everything in her that the timing somehow made sense, that the universe would grant her a miracle. She convinced herself to believe Daniel could be the father. She needed to believe it, because the alternative felt too catastrophic to face. But deep down, far beneath her facade, she knew, bringing Lily into the world was the most beautiful moment of her life. But every time Daniel kissed their daughter's forehead, a sharp guilt pressed deeper into her ribs. Every time he stayed up late, talking to the baby in his arms, telling her stories, and promising her a bright future, Emily felt the weight of her silence increase. "How are you feeling?" Daniel asked her now, stepping closer, his voice warm with concern. "I'm okay," she whispered. "Just tired. Get some rest." "I'll watch her," he said, gently brushing a strand of hair from her face. He deserved better. He deserved the truth. He deserved the chance to choose. But how could she give him that truth when it might destroy him? Later that evening, after Lily fell asleep and the house settled into a soft hush, Emily sat at the small wooden table in the kitchen. She opened a notebook she'd been hiding in the drawer. For months she had been trying to write a confession, something honest, something real, but every time she tried, her hand froze and her words collapsed into silence. How did you tell the person who gave you everything that you had betrayed them in the one way that mattered most? She stared at the blank page, her fingers trembling slightly, when suddenly her phone buzzed. Up. Number she hadn't seen in over a year appeared on the screen. Michael. Her pulse thudded loudly in her ears as she opened the message. Michael, Emily. Can we talk? Her breath caught. She hadn't spoken to him since she blocked him the week after learning she was pregnant. She thought she'd erased every trace of him from her life. She prayed she would never have to hear from him again. Her hands shook as she placed the phone face down on the table. Her chest tightened. Why now? Why, after all this time? She stood up and paced slowly around the kitchen. Her heart felt like it was beating too fast, threatening to burst. She didn't want him in her life. She didn't want to reopen that chapter. She didn't want anything to threaten the fragile peace she'd managed to create. Her phone buzzed. Again, she didn't want to look. She didn't want to know. But she forced herself to read the second message. Michael, this is about the baby. A cold shiver ran down her spine. She stared at the words, unable to move. She felt the world tilt, felt the floor beneath her soften. Had he known? How could he have known? She had hidden everything, carefully changed her number, cut all connections, removed every link to her past mistake. Why would he say that? Was it a guess? A suspicion? A threat? Her mind raced. She sank into the chair, clutching the phone in both hands, trying to steady her breathing. She felt guilt, fear, shame, all twisting together inside her. Daniel's footsteps echoed lightly in the hallway. He was humming again, probably walking Lily gently up and down the hall the way he did when she was restless. That soft hum, that gentle love it made Emily's heart ache even more deeply. She couldn't let him lose this happiness. She couldn't let him lose the child he already loved fiercely. But she also couldn't ignore the message. Every second stretched longer. She felt trapped between two worlds, the life she had built and the past she had tried to bury. And now with two short messages. The past had clawed its way back to the surface. Emily lowered her head into her hands, trying to breathe. The kitchen light cast a warm glow over the counter, the baby bottles, the half-opened letters on the table. Everything looked ordinary. Everything looked safe. And yet nothing felt safe anymore. What if Michael wanted involvement? What if he wanted answers? What if he demanded a relationship with the child? Would Daniel ever forgive her? She closed her eyes tightly, her chest lifting and falling in uneven breaths. She wasn't ready for her world to break apart. She wasn't ready for Daniel's smile to disappear. She wasn't ready to lose the family she'd worked so hard to protect. But there are moments in life when the truth refuses to stay quiet. The phone buzzed a third time. Emily's heart felt like it was hanging by a thread as she looked down. Michael, Emily. I'm not trying to ruin your life, but something happened and I need to tell you the truth. She stared at the message, frozen in fear. What truth? What did he know? It felt like the walls around her were closing in. Every sound in the house grew sharper, the hum of the fridge, the soft creak of the wooden floor, the distant whisper of Daniel's voice as he soothed Lily. Emily felt suspended between two realities, the life she cherished and the truth she couldn't escape. She didn't know what Michael was about to say, but she could feel the ground shifting beneath her. She sensed that everything she feared was no longer a future possibility was happening now. The secret she had guarded for months was no longer hers alone, and she had no idea how much longer she could keep her world from falling apart. Emily's phone vibrated again on the kitchen counter. She stared at it like it might burn her hands. Michael's messages were short, calm, yet heavy with a kind of weight that could collapse her carefully built world. She wanted to throw the phone across the room, pretend it didn't exist, and bury herself in the warmth of Daniel's love. But she couldn't. Something about his words made it impossible to ignore. Her mind raced. What could he possibly want now? How does he know? Why would he come back into my life after all this time? The house was quiet except for the soft hum of the refrigerator and the faint creaking of the floorboards as Lily shifted in her crib. Daniel was still downstairs, humming a lullaby. Emily's heart ached watching him love a child that wasn't his. But she also felt the undeniable pull of truth. The moment of reckoning she had been avoiding since the night Lily was conceived. She picked up the phone, her fingers trembling. Michael's message read, "Emily, we need to meet. It's about Lily. I promise I'm not here to cause pain, but you need to hear me." She closed her eyes, resting her forehead against the cold kitchen counter. Her chest tightened. A meeting with Michael could ruin everything. Daniel could never forgive her if he knew. But leaving it unsaid might hurt Lily one day in ways Emily couldn't imagine. After a long, heavy breath, she typed a response she hated but couldn't avoid. "Okay, let's talk." The next day, Emily drove through the quiet streets of Portland, her mind replaying the last 2 years in fragments. She wondered how one mistake could stretch into an entire lifetime of tension and guilt. Every red light made her grip the steering wheel tighter. Every passing car felt like a reminder that she was stepping into dangerous territory. When she arrived at the small, neutral cafe, she saw Michael already sitting at a corner table, his hands wrapped around a cup of coffee. His face hadn't changed much, calm, serious, with the same kind eyes that had once made her feel safe. For a moment, Emily considered turning the car around. But she couldn't. The weight of the secret, the urgency in his messages, had brought her here. Michael stood as she approached, a tentative smile crossing his face. "Emily," he said softly, "thank you for coming." She nodded, sitting down, unable to meet his eyes. "Why now, Michael?" "Why, after all this time?" He took a deep breath, leaning back in his chair. "I didn't know how to reach you before. I wanted to respect your life, your marriage. But things have changed, and I can't keep this from you any longer." Emily felt her stomach drop. She had braced herself for confrontation, for anger, for demands, but not for the quiet, deliberate tone in his voice. It made everything feel heavier. "What do you want from me?" she whispered. "I want to be honest," he said. "Lily, she's healthy, beautiful, and perfect. I see why Daniel loves her so much. But you need to know, I know I'm her biological father." The words hit her like a punch. She pressed her palms against her face, breathing shallowly. The reality she had been carrying alone was now being spoken aloud. She had imagined this moment in nightmares and daydreams, but nothing prepared her for the sound of it being said. She stammered. "I didn't want Daniel doesn't know. I can't let him know. He loves her. He's the best father I know," Michael interrupted gently. "And I'm not here to take her from him. I can't stay silent. I don't want her life to be a lie someday. She deserves truth, and you deserve to stop carrying this alone." Emily swallowed, her throat tight. She had tried so hard to protect Daniel, to protect Lily, to protect herself. But now the truth was a living thing, moving closer with every heartbeat. She realized she couldn't keep running. Back home, she watched Daniel sit on the couch, Lily on his lap, singing softly. His love radiated in every gesture, the tilt of his head, the careful way he bounced her, the soft laughter he whispered when she gurgled. Emily felt a mixture of guilt, admiration, and longing. She knew the next steps had to be handled carefully. Michael wasn't asking for control. He was offering honesty. And maybe, just maybe, there was a way to navigate this without destroying everything Daniel had built with his love. Over the next few days, Emily tried to manage her emotions. She stayed home more, keeping Lily close, talking to Daniel about daily things, sharing small smiles, pretending her heart wasn't being pulled in 2 directions. Every laugh they shared felt bittersweet. Every bedtime felt like a countdown to the inevitable confession. One evening, Daniel looked at her with a softness that made her chest ache. "Em, is everything okay? You seem distant." "Fine," she said, forcing a smile, hiding the turmoil inside. "Just tired, I guess." He didn't push. He never pushed. Daniel had always believed in kindness and patience, in the idea that love could endure struggles. Emily wanted to tell him everything, to collapse into his arms and leave all the fear behind. But she couldn't find the words. She feared shattering him, feared breaking the beautiful life they had created. Then, one night, as she tucked Lily into her crib, Emily made a decision. She couldn't let the secret fester any longer. She had to take responsibility for her actions, no matter the cost. And so, after ensuring Lily was asleep, she picked up her phone and called Michael. They met again in the cafe, this time to plan a path forward. Michael assured her he wouldn't interfere in her marriage. He simply wanted to be honest in a way that wouldn't harm anyone. He suggested that if she and Daniel ever felt ready, they could consider telling him gently, carefully, emphasizing the love he already had for Lily. Rather than focusing on biology, Emily returned home feeling lighter but terrified. She knew the hardest part was yet to come. That night, she sat beside Daniel, Lily asleep between them, and whispered a shaky confession, not the whole truth yet, but enough to signal that something needed honesty. "Daniel, there's something important we need to talk about. It's about Lily." His brow furrowed slightly, concern growing in his eyes. "What is it?" She took a deep breath. "I made a mistake years ago, before Lily was born, and now I need to be honest with you because I can't live with this alone anymore." Daniel reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together," he said, his voice steady and loving. Tears welled in Emily's eyes. She wanted to speak, to confess fully, but stopped. Not yet. She needed a plan, a way to navigate this delicate truth without destroying the family she loved. Daniel's calm strength gave her hope that love could survive even the most difficult revelations. In the following days, Emily and Michael worked carefully. Michael never tried to claim a role in Lily's life without permission. Instead, he provided support from a distance, offering guidance and honesty when needed. Emily documented her feelings, prepared her words, and created a space in her heart where truth could exist without pain. Finally, the day came. Emily sat with Daniel, Lily playing quietly on the rug nearby, and took a deep breath. "Daniel, I need to tell you something about Lily. It's going to be hard, but I believe our love can survive this." Daniel looked at her, eyes full of trust. "I'll listen, Em. I always will." Emily felt the weight lift slightly. The moment had arrived, not in fear, but with the hope that honesty could strengthen their bond. She began to speak, carefully, choosing each word. She explained the past mistake, her fear, the truth about Lily's biological father, but she also emphasized Daniel's irreplaceable role in Lily's life. Daniel listened quietly, absorbing the words without interruption. His expression was calm, but Emily's heart pounded. When she finished, she braced herself for anger, for heartbreak, for everything she had feared. But instead, Daniel pulled her into a long, tight hug. "Em, I love you, and I love Lily. That will never change. You made mistakes, but we're a family. That's what matters." Lily's tears flowed freely, relief washing through her like a wave. The truth was no longer a silent burden, it was a bridge, connecting them with honesty, trust, and love stronger than before. In the weeks that followed, life returned to a new normal. Emily, Daniel, and Lily shared laughter, quiet moments, and ordinary days filled with extraordinary love. Michael remained a distant, respectful presence, giving Emily space to rebuild the family she had fought to protect. And through it all, Emily realized something profound. Love wasn't defined by biology. It was defined by care, devotion, and the choice to stay. Even when life was messy and imperfect, Emily often watched Daniel with Lily, smiling softly to herself. His love had never wavered. And though the past had been painful, it had ultimately revealed something beautiful. That honesty, courage, and compassion could heal even the deepest wounds. The secret that had once threatened to destroy everything became the reason. Emily appreciated love more deeply than ever. Life was fragile, messy, and unpredictable, but it was also rich with forgiveness, trust, and a family bound not only by blood, but by the heart. And as she held Lily one quiet evening, whispering lullabies with Daniel by her side, Emily realized the greatest truth of all. Love, when nurtured with honesty and patience, could survive anything, even a secret that once seemed impossible to reveal.